Hello everyone and welcome to Project Revival. I'm Desiree, your Pepsi 101 loser, and today I will be teaching you full body movement as well as advanced facial movement. This is a collaborative tutorial today, so Faith or Yeuntaro will be teaching you hair movement. So let's get started because this will be one pretty lengthy tutorial. Hello, welcome to the full body portion of this tutorial. Okay, so what you're gonna need to do is open up MapleStory Design, and then you can go ahead, just make a character and download both of the sprite sheets, the regular one and the layered one, because the regular one has all the poses and everything put together. You're gonna use those as a reference for whatever pose you would like to have exploded pieces for, because we're going to be outlining everything in paint.net. I know you can do it in Sony Vegas, but I personally don't like to do that because I find it to be more time consuming, and if you mess up one little thing, it's just chaotic. So most people like to have their canvas sizes in paint.net at like 100x100. I make my canvases a little bit bigger, and I start out by putting just a normal head, and then I align my reference for my character with that head, and then I go into the exploded sprite sheet and I go and locate the pose that I want and all the pieces that I need by extracting it. I know there's a plugin for this, but I don't have the plugin and I never found a need to go look for one. I never found the need to go look for it. So I just drag everything into paint.net and everything just seems to be easier for me that way. A huge tip, I like to label everything, every layer, so it's easy to navigate, and so that's just about it, so it's easy to navigate. I like to merge the clothing onto the arms and the clothing onto the actual body, but I don't merge the arms into the body. So when I'm aligning everything with the reference, it's easier. So as you can see, I'm aligning everything with the reference and labeling them as I go. And next, you're just going to save each individual piece as a PNG file. You can save this whole thing as a paint.net file in case you ever need to come back to it, and all of the layers will be there, because once you save everything as a PNG, it will flatten and your layers will no longer be there. It'll just be the one that you allow to be visible at the time that you're saving them. So yeah, that's it. That's all you need paint.net for. Okay, so now that you have all of your files saved as PNG files, you can go ahead and put them into Sony Vegas. Once you put them into Sony Vegas, I advise that you label them, but you don't necessarily have to. I just find this easier and quicker. So, as you can see, I'm labeling them, and if you haven't seen Himawari's Parent Track tutorial, I advise that you go watch that, because that is the method I'm using for the head movement and the torso full actual body movement. But okay, so for the head movement, you'll click into that parent track with the hair, the head, the eyes, but you'll need to unclick this box so that you can move the anchor point around. Because if you don't move the anchor point, it'll be like at a point where your head will rotate like oddly and unnaturally, so you have to mess around with it and find the right anchor point, as you see me doing here. So I'm messing around with it just to make sure it's perfect. Oh, also click on this cursor sync thing, because it'll also help keep the cursors that are in the mini timestamp within the track motion and within your actual project, if that makes sense. But that's not necessarily that important. So as you can see here, I click on a random part in the timeline and I just rotate the head in the downward position. And then what I like to do, I like to add a little bounce after the head to make it look smoother, as you can see me doing here. And be sure to make all of your keyframes smooth. I like to make my head movements like a tad bit slower. That's just my preference, but you're free to mess around and do what you want and find your own style. So if you didn't notice, I made a parent track for the back hair as well. I like to copy and paste what I did for the top hair, the head, and the facial movement, and I just copy and paste the keyframes from that parent track to the one for the back hair. That way the back hair is moving along with the head and the top hair and the face. And now for the arm movement. What I like to do is mask them. I know I can easily just save them separately and paint on net, but I just choose to mask them. Not sure why, that's just how I do it. So yeah, you use pan crop to move the arms. So as you can see me labeling the right arm and the left hand like so. And what you're gonna do is go into pan crop. Oh, I also like to move my arms along with my head, if that makes sense, like the same timing and pacing. So I just usually put little markers there, and then I just put a keyframe where I want the arms to move, and then I just move it upwards on that second keyframe, and then I just make it bounce a little. I make it bounce by like clicking a tad bit before the keyframe I actually like moved the rotation for. I don't know why. I mean, you can easily just rotate it manually. I just do it that way because I find it quicker, if that makes sense, if you're understanding what I'm saying. If you don't, leave questions in the comments and I'll try to answer them. But yeah, for the other hand, I move it upward because you can't really rotate it because it's just a hand and it would look weird. So you just move it upward and then you add a little bounce to make it look smoother. And yes, you would set these keyframes to smooth. And there you go. You have the movement. So I believe next is the torso body movement. You'll need to make a parent track for that, and I label them too to make it easier, as you can see me doing here. Okay, so what you're gonna do is mask the top part of the torso. You can use the tool that gives you more freedom. I don't know the name of the tool, but you can see. But for this, I think I used the square rectangular tool because I found it easier because the body is kind of rectangular. So after I do that, because now it looks like she doesn't have legs, I duplicate that one that I just masked, and then I just change the mode from positive to negative in the pan crop. You'll see me do this shortly. I'm getting ahead of myself. There you go. Now she has legs. So exit out of that. Save everything that you do. Also, and you'll have to mess around to find the anchor point. It's gonna be a pain because if you don't find the correct anchor point, it'll look out of whack. So yeah, good luck. There's really no tip that I have for you in finding the correct anchor point. You just have to play around with everything. I also make a body movement parent track for the back hair. So everything moves together. It's similar to what I did to make the back hair move along with the top part of the head anyway. So I think that's pretty easy to follow along with. So yeah, go ahead and find the anchor point for your torso, and there you go. So the torso movement is the same as what I did for the arm movement, just not with pan crop. You're using track motion. Just move it at the same timing and pacing as what you did for the head movement. It is helpful to make markers. If you don't know how to make markers, just push the letter M and it'll make markers for you. So yeah, just move it downward or whatever way you want. And of course, I still add that little bounce to make it look smoother. And please don't forget to make the keyframes smooth. And that's basically it. You'll see the final product soon, and I will be signing off and giving the next part of this tutorial to Faith. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Faith, aka Yeuntaro from Project Revival, and today I'll be teaching you how to do basic hair movement in Sony Vegas. This tutorial includes parent tracks, so I recommend that you watch Himawari's tutorial in our channel if you are not familiar with them. So I already have my exploded parts here and my parent track set up. I'm going to make this a child of this layer, so we can make a mini parent track over here. That way we can control the head all together. So first, you're gonna have to find a nice anchor point, and you're gonna have to make the anchor point go down, and I think I found mine. So I'm going to make the first keyframe smooth, and I'm going to make the second keyframe, which is the keyframe that will be moving just a maybe looking up maybe, and the keyframe will be automatically set to smooth, so we don't need to change anything. And I'm going to make a third keyframe, which is the head bouncing back just a little bit. If you find it hard to rotate it so that it bounces a little bit, you can go into the middle of these two keyframes and find a spot where you can make a keyframe, like perhaps here, and I'll take that keyframe and I'll smooth it over here. So now that we have the head movement, we are going to move the hair. I'm going to set the anchor point to the top of the hair. Also, I will switch to pen crop because it is easier to locate where the anchor points are. And I'm going to set a second keyframe here, which is the same place as the head keyframe. And I'm going to move the hair maybe like here, just rotate it like this. Oh, and make sure to set the keyframes to smooth. And I'll make it bounce or fall back just a little bit. And just and you just have to mess around with it until you finally are satisfied with it. I'm going to make it bounce back a little bit. So I'm going to select the keyframe here, just make it bounce. And I think it looks nice and smooth. So we will move into the back hair. I'm going to copy this and paste it onto the back hair, and as you can see it will follow the front hair, but it looks slightly off, so I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. For the second keyframe, I'm going to make the hair go the opposite direction, so maybe this way, and I'm going to keep this keyframe, but just maybe tweak it a little bit, just a tiny rotation, as you can see here. And then you're gonna keep I'm gonna make the last keyframe here. Actually, I'm going to set this back a little bit. And then we'll put this here. And I'm just gonna make this go a little bit here. And there you have it. It's a basic hair movement. I hope this tutorial helped you in some way, and I'll be signing off. Bye!
Okay, howdy fella, and welcome to the facial movement part of the tutorial. So, let's get started. So what I like to do is add like an extra layer. So I already have everything aligned. So I add an extra layer right underneath like the eyes, and I put a color. I use the shape tool to just make a shape instead of scribbling with a pencil brush or whatever. And it makes it easier to see what I have to fill in after I separate the pupils from the sockets. And then I put the pupils into a different layer. Like I cut and make a new layer, label it eyes, and then I paste it. You'll also be needing the second blink face where the eyes are actually closed for this. I don't think I showed you that when I was animating, but it's fine. So for the sockets, you'll definitely have to be recoloring that. That's just pretty easy. It's not too hard. And then you're gonna fill in any loose ends that just happen to be on the pupil as well. So once you're done doing all that, you can go ahead and save the eyes and the sockets as PNG files, not together, separately. And the closed eyes, you could separate them if you wanted to, like that. You could separate the eyebrows from the sockets and the mouth, but I just mask everything in Sony Vegas, as you will see later. Okay, and now you can import everything into Sony Vegas. So, you're gonna need to mask the mouth, the sockets, the eyebrows, and the two pupils from each other, as you'll see me do. You will also need to mask the closed eye part of the second blink. You'll see me do this shortly. I'm getting ahead of myself again, but you'll be using parent tracks for this. The two pupils and the eye sockets will be under the empty parent track, or the empty layer that you will turn into a parent track. So what I do is mark where I would want the blink to be and count a few spaces, and I push S to split my images, because where you see the gap is where I will put the closed eyes, and where we will be doing the squishing effect. I don't know what to call it. So so just push S to split it, and then put right directly in the middle. You go to the parent track, you put a keyframe on both sides of the one in the middle, and squish the one in the middle and reposition it, like move it upwards to where like the original eyes would be, because as you can see it goes down a little bit, so you gotta move it upward. And then when you play it, she blinks. If you want your character to look in a different direction, you will have to go into pan crop and just reposition it. And then when she opens her eyes, she will be looking in whatever direction you want her to look. And that's it. Thank you. I hope these tutorials were very helpful. If you have any questions, I know this tutorial was really long, but we didn't want to have you guys wait for each movement tutorial since they're all kind of the same. So we put them all together in one, and I hope they're very helpful. So if you have any questions on something we didn't really explain quite well, please leave a comment, and thanks for watching! Have fun animating!